Mark chapter 8. About that time another large crowd had gathered, and there was nothing for them to eat. He called his disciples and told them, "I'm moved with compassion for these people, because they've been with me for 3 days now and have nothing to eat. If I send them home hungry, they'll faint along the way, because some of them have come from far away." His disciples asked him, "How can we satisfy all these people with bread here in this deserted place?" He asked them, "How many loaves do you have?" They told him 7. He told the crowd to sit down on the ground. Then he took the 7 loaves and blessed them and broke them and started giving them to his disciples to give out, and they served them to the crowd. There were also a few fish. He blessed them as well and told them that the fish should also be served. They all ate and were satisfied, and they picked up 7 baskets of leftover pieces. About 4,000 men had eaten. Then he sent them on their way. Right after that he got into a boat with his disciples and went to the region of Dalmanutha. The Pharisees arrived and began to argue with him. As a test, they demanded that he show them a miraculous sign from heaven. He sighed as he breathed and said, "A wicked and unfaithful people demand a sign, but the only sign they will be given is the sign of the prophet Jonah." So he left them and got back into the boat, and they crossed to the other shore. They had forgotten to bring bread with them, and there was only a single loaf with them in the boat. He warned them, "Become acquainted with and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the leaven of Herod." They began to discuss with each other and decided, "It's because we don't have any bread." Yeshua knew what they were saying, so he asked them, "Why are you talking about having no bread? Don't you understand yet? How long will your minds remain calloused? You have eyes, but you can't see. You have ears, but you can't hear, and you don't remember anything. When I broke up the 5 loaves for the 5,000, how many baskets full of leftover pieces did you pick up?" They told him 12. "And when I broke the 7 loaves for the 4,000, how many baskets full of leftover pieces did you pick up?" They said 7. So he asked them, "Why is it that you still don't understand?" When they arrived in Bethsaida, some people brought a blind man to him, and they begged him to touch him. He took the blind man by the hand and led him out of the village and spit on his eyes and laid his hands on him and asked him what he saw. He looked up and said, "I see people, but they look like trees walking around." He laid his hands on his eyes again, and he was completely restored and saw everything clearly. He sent him home and told him, "Don't go into the village or tell anyone in the village." Yeshua and his disciples went to the villages of Caesarea Philippi. Along the way, he asked his disciples, "Who do people say I am?" They told him, "Some say you are John the Immerser. Others say you are Elijah, while others say that you are one of the prophets." Yeshua asked them, "But who do you say I am?" Simon replied, "You are the Messiah, the Son of the living Eloah." He warned them not to say anything about him to anyone. Then for the first time he told them that the human son was about to suffer greatly and be rejected by the elders, by the high priests, and by the Torah teachers, be killed and raised immediately after the 3rd day. He spoke about this quite openly. Cephas took him aside and began to scold him. But he turned and looked at his disciples and scolded Simon and said, "Get behind me, Satan. You aren't thinking Jehovah's thoughts, but about human things." Yeshua called the crowd together along with his disciples and told them, Whoever wants to follow me must deny their own ambitions, pick up their cross, and follow behind me. Whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for my sake and for the sake of my good news will save it. How would a person benefit if they gain the whole world but forfeit their eternal life? Or what could a person pay as compensation for their life? If anyone is ashamed of me and of my teachings in this sinful and adulterous nation, then the human Son will also be ashamed of them when he comes in the splendor of his Father with his spirit messengers.